Hi there, and welcome to another edition of Quick Guides. On today's Quick Guides, I'm going to take a look at roles. Some of the roles that are in the game. I'm not going to cover all of them because I want to keep this video short so that you can target and you can see what the roles are and just have a quick guide video and then just look at it and go, oh, this is what it's all about. So that's what it's going to be. And we're not going to spend too much time on it, but I just want to cover some of the important features of the roles so that when you use the roles you understand what they can do and what they can't do, because I see a lot of players, they can't score goals, they have 4-3-1-2s, and they ask themselves, why am I not scoring goals? Okay, so let's focus today on strikers. That's our favorite position in the whole game. On today's show I'm going to focus on two roles in the game for strikers, and both these roles are very interesting because they're the only two roles I know of that do not play through balls. And this is going to be particularly interesting when you set up your tactics. Whenever you have a situation in a game where you want to get others involved in the play, you don't want to lose possession in the final third. Then what kind of a striker do you want to have in your arsenal? The defensive forward. The defensive forward on defend duty has this PI that's locked in. It says few risky passes. He also holds the position, closes down more and tackles hard. So he's going to hound everybody. But what's more important is how he plays the game. He will turn his back to goal and then he will lay off simple passes around him that brings others into play, including wingers and wingbacks and fullbacks who might be plowing the lanes on the flanks. So this is one role that you want to think of when you're using a system and you're wondering, how do I get others involved into play? The defensive forward then becomes a very, very good outlet. Along with the defensive forward, another player who also does something similar, except he doesn't hold the position. He's actually right in front. He's actually testing the defensive lines out, is the poacher. Now the poacher is another fantastic role. The poacher has got a very simple way of playing. He doesn't try through passes. He's always going to be on the defensive line. He's got one goal in mind, and that is to try and score a goal. And the other thing about the poacher is this: he doesn't like drift too far off to the flanks most of the time. He will stand on the shoulder of the last defender, try to break the defensive line, and will always try and make himself available near the 6-yard area to score goals. So these are two roles that play almost similarly. One of them turns his back face to bring others into play. The other guy does not do anything complicated. His life is very simple. Give me the goal, give me the ball. I'll play a simple pass to get others involved into play, but I'll quickly get back myself into the box to try and score. So both these players are very, very interesting to have. Now, the attributes that you want for the defensive forward, this is pretty easy. If you ever wonder, okay, what kind of attributes should I have for a defensive forward? Then one of the things you want to do is you want to go into the game, to the training and development section, and then pick a role like this. So we've got a striker here. He's got a defensive forward. Now this all all the attributes now are highlighted. These are the key attributes for a defensive forward. Be careful if your defensive forward has very high aggression. If there's anything above 14 and 15, you should start checking if the coach reports out to see whether he is willing to bend the rules. If he's willing to bend the rules, then chances are he might give a few very hard tackles. The defensive forward is a hound dog. He chases people down, so he has to have lots of determination. All right, and he has got to have very high work rate. Right? And on top of that, he's always going to be putting himself in danger. So you want your defensive forward to be brave. You want him to be able to get into the challenge. You also want him to have strength, and he also needs to have acceleration. So among all these attributes, the ones that I look for the most in my defensive forwards are stamina, strength. I look for passing as well, because I want my defensive forward to be able to lay off the passes. And sometimes I get my strikers to spend some time training their passes. So a defensive forward is a pretty good role, but I wouldn't train anybody as a defensive forward. Nah. You don't want to, because you don't train finishing and composure. So I would probably go and train him as a for me, one of my favorite roles, Poacher. Finishing, first touch, composure, concentration, anticipation, acceleration, agility, and off the ball. That's enough for me. And then after that, I'll give him passing. Okay, there you go. That's enough for my defensive forward to train. So my defensive forward is off training, and I've already training fitness as a team training schedule. So fitness will hit stamina, strength, pace, acceleration, teamwork, and that's enough for me. So that's it. He's got the training program all set up. Now what about the so now you know the Poacher as well. So the Poacher's attributes is, when you want to play a Poacher, the Poacher is very simple. You just want somebody to get into the box and score goals. So the acceleration is going to be very important for a Poacher. He's also going to have to have good anticipation, finishing, and composure. That's what you want. Off the ball running is very important for poachers, because poachers are expected to break defensive lines. So if you want to go and get a player to play as a poacher and he does not have off the ball, he can't play as a poacher. Poachers are expected to break defensive lines, so you need to get somebody who can do that. So the next time you set up a tactic, ask yourself one question. If you need a player to hold up the ball and get others involved in play, and you're scared of losing possession of the ball because you're in the final third, you know, this is one of the worst places to lose a ball. If you lose the ball here and you are into your attack transition, it means that your players are already committed. If the AI just has to string 3 passes and it's goal side, and he's going to try and score a goal on you. So what you want to do is, sometimes especially if you're not a top team like Gloucester City, we don't want to lose possession in the opponent's third so easily. So I use defensive forwards quite a lot. Up front, sometimes I use a poacher. More often than not, I actually prefer using my advanced forward. My advanced forward, he dribbles more, gets further forward, and moves into channels. What does move into channels actually mean? He goes between defenders. That's what he does. Alright, he goes between defenders and he works the line. He goes from left to right as well. Now sometimes it's not ideal to have an advanced forward, but the roles I like are the advanced forward and the poacher. Why? Because these two boys, they test the defensive lines. And against Chelsea, when we beat them 4-2, I was using a poacher. Will Grigg was my poacher, and I was playing a very simple game. Knock it down, get it to the poacher. So I was using a target man and a poacher combination. You always want to think of roles and duties relative to something else. So you can't think of them in isolation. You just can't go and tell yourself, okay, I'm going to make this tactic, I'm going to put a poacher in and let's hope it works. Nah. Firstly, there's going to be a lot of trial and error when you choosing roles, especially up front. If you've noticed my videos, I'm always changing, tweaking small little things, because things change in matches. For example, when is it really a good time to play a poacher? It's a fantastic time to play a poacher when you know that your player has got the skills to beat the last man. He's always going to be standing on the shoulder of the last defender. So if the AI is pushing up their defensive line, the poacher becomes very handy. In my match against Chelsea were pushing up their defensive line. I played with a poacher and he had the run of the half. I mean, he got behind their defensive lines on more than one occasion and he managed to bag himself a few goals. So you want to play a poacher with another player, because the poacher is going to test the defensive line. Somebody has got to give him the ball. The poacher and the advanced forward play very similar to each other. So you want to get the poacher to receive the ball and get a chance to run in the defensive line. This means that he's going to be playing against teams that are playing higher up the pitch. If you play a very fluid system and you compress the spaces in front of the goal, then the poacher becomes very difficult to use. And this is the reason why I find there are a lot of people out there that say that their poacher, he can't be used, and I disagree. The poacher can be used under certain circumstances. You want to change the duty in relationship to something that's happening in the game. Now, what about the other roles that play beside the poacher? Now, because the poacher himself doesn't play risky passes, and because the poacher is running at defensive lines, he really needs a strike partner. He needs somebody there who can hold up the ball and feed the ball to him. Now, ideally, you want to use somebody who is also dropping into spaces looking for passes. So this means that you're looking at roles like the DLFS, the false 9, the trequartista. These are all very, very good roles to pair up with the poacher. The poacher can also work with the target man on support. And this means, again here, you want to be using it against a team that is playing a high line, because If you can get the ball to the target man, he can knock it down for the poacher. He will knock it into space, and there goes the poacher. And that brings me to another thing. You're looking at team instructions as well. The most important team instruction here will be passed into space for the poacher, because the poacher is always going to be looking for spaces to exploit. So the next time you want to use the poacher, remember this. High defensive line, if you're playing against one, poacher will be good to use. Poacher also needs a strike partner. What about the defense, the deep lying forward and support? Now, deep lying forward and support loves to play through balls. Don't go and pick any ordinary player for this role. This player requires some intelligence. He must be able to hold up the ball. He must have the composure to hold up the ball, and the decisions and the passing attributes, first touch, to release the ball as well. Now, if you will find that I have seen a lot of PKMs from people who I have seen a lot of PKMs that have been submitted to me for review, and more often than not, I see the wrong use of the DLFS. Even I have made the mistake. I mean, to me, I just want somebody to play the true pass, but sometimes in the final third, if this guy doesn't hold on to the ball well, he's going to lose the ball. So the DLFS works very well with the advanced forward. If you can get those two working together, my favorite combination is the DLFS with the advanced forward, because the advanced forward is always testing the line, and the DLFS is always looking to play to his strike partner. So you've got a very good combination going over there. The DLFS can also work very well with the poacher, because there again you have somebody else testing the line. The DLFS is a player that makes a lot of movements. He is always, jinking between the lines or moving through the channels. So you want a player who's got very, very good off the ball for DLFS. The players behind these two strikers, they have to come into the game as well. So when do you use a defensive forward? The defensive forward is going to be used when you have a system that requires you to hold up the ball and get others involved into play. A very, very good example, a very good way to use the defensive forward is in lone man forward systems. Yes, when he's the only player on the pitch, the defensive forward doesn't do anything flashy. In a 4-1-4-1 or a 4-2-3-1, the defensive forward is going to be all by himself, lonesome, right up here. And what does he do? He just holds up the ball, waits for others to come. He drops it in a bit deep, he harries the defenses, and then he lays off the pass to more creative players. So you want to use the defensive forward in camping systems as well. If you want to camp around the opponent's half, you want your players to come in to attack, defensive forwards come in very handy, because they don't play through balls for you to lose possession. So if you're a weaker team, defensive forward sounds like the right choice. So the next time you play these kind of roles, give a good thought to how they fit into your system. In future shows, I will focus more on the other striker roles as well. But for today's show, I thought I'd just introduce you to two strikers who do not play through passes. The reason why I chose these two is because sometimes you want your football to be simple, to allow others to get into play. Because the last thing you want is your striker trying to play a through pass which he cannot possibly do, because you've chosen him to be a deep lying forward on support. Now, I use DLF on support a lot in my Torino saves, but these guys, they need to have strength and passing and decisions. So if you don't have that combination in a play, it's going to be pretty hard, because they might make the pass and it goes awry, and you give up possession. And with Gloucester City, our name of the game at the moment in the Premiership is, hey, we want as much possession as we possibly can get, because we don't want to give the ball away. So we are one of the worst sides in the moment. We don't like losing, so we come up with some defensive systems, and among our defensive systems is the use of the defensive forward. Now, can you play a defensive forward? Can you play a defensive forward pair? Now, this is very interesting. Yes, you can. The defensive forward pair is something that I did which I set up in my Leicester City replication. I did once before. There's a slight difference between the two. The only difference is the defensive forward on support, he doesn't hold position, he drifts into spaces, right? He goes up and he goes down. Whereas the defensive forward on defend duty, he just holds his position. He's like a hook. He's gonna try and get other players involved. The defensive forward on support, he doesn't do that. However, both of them close on a hell of a lot and they tackle hard. So this was what I used in my Leicester City replication. Defend and a support duty. They drop back, and we don't want them to overcommit, and we want them to be on defensive mode all the way. Well, I hope you enjoyed this edition of the quick guides for striker roles that do not play through passes. And play less risky passes. If you have any questions, you can always look me up on Discord or at addicted2fm.com, or you can hunt me down on Twitter at BusterNet. Well, I hope to catch up with you guys again soon. Just drop me a note if you want more clarification on how you want to use the strikers who don't play true passes. Once again, I'd like to thank all the patrons for continuing to support this channel. You have my undying gratitude. You guys take care. I'll catch up with you guys again soon. Bye bye.